This Chat with the Experts is brought to you by Angie's List on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to Chat with the Experts, brought to you by Angie's List. My name is Kyle Hawk, and I'm here today with Deb Meno of Puppy Playground here in Indianapolis. We're talking about pets today, and as an animal expert, it's safe to say we're not barking up the wrong tree here. Deb has been giving us some great tips on how to ensure a safe stay for your pets while you're away. But we were just talking about boarding, and I wanted to get your thoughts on illness and disease, because I know it's something a lot of people worry about, whether it be something like kennel cough cases that have kind of risen in recent years, or canine flu. How much of a risk is it, and what should people know before they check their dog in somewhere?
There's always going to be a risk anytime you have animals interacting with other animals. Properly vaccinating is certainly the best way to be preventative, and what we stress is just prevention and education as much as possible. Every dog that enters our facility is required to be up to date on rabies, distemper, as well as Bordetella, which is the kennel cough vaccine. Okay. We also require flea and heartworm prevention, because the very last thing you want is to pick up your dog after a week boarding stay and find out they have a flea infestation. So those are never welcome guests that you want to take back home with you.
Yeah.
Similar to kids going to daycare. You know, occasionally there's going to be a round of kennel cough that will go through. And what a lot of people don't understand about the kennel cough vaccine is that it's very similar to the flu vaccine in that it might cover the major 5 strains that cause respiratory infection, but there's really 25 to 30 different things that can cause respiratory infection.
Right.
And unfortunately, why you tend to see it spread so quickly is if there's a mutation and one dog gets it, likelihood is that none of their vaccines are going to cover that strain, and so that's why it spreads so quickly. What our protocol is, if we see a dog that's displaying any signs of illness, whether it be a respiratory infection or something else, first and foremost, we isolate the animal and we call the owner. We want to make sure that we're taking all the precautionary steps to make sure that we aren't having sick animals within the facilities.
Yeah, it's definitely something pet owners worry about, and it's good to be educated and know what the risks are and what you can do. And like you mentioned, vaccinations are a big part of that. Make sure that your dog gets their vaccinations. What else can you do to prepare your pet for an overnight stay somewhere?
There's a lot of things you can do. Think of like sending your kid off to kindergarten for the first time. Coming in with a positive attitude, the dogs definitely feed off the energy of the owner. If mom's nervous and I'm not really sure what to do and really fidgety, then the dog becomes fidgety and they become nervous. So coming in with that positive attitude of, all right, Lucy, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great evening, you know, and not being too overly anxious can certainly help set the dog up for success. Yeah. One of the things that we found to be very successful at Puppy Playground, because we do a daycare evaluation prior to boarding, is during that free 2-hour evaluation, we can really get an idea of how well the dog is interacting within that social environment. And for the dogs that might be a little bit more scared, that might be a little bit more nervous, we'll ask the owner to bring them back for a couple times of daycare prior to boarding. That way, it gets them a little bit more socially involved. They know mom and dad's going to come pick me up. And it really helps to reduce the stress that the pet feels when they stay overnight for the first time, because it's a familiar environment.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We've talked a lot today about the dog side of things. I wondered if you could speak at all to the difference between boarding a cat and boarding a dog.
Certainly, there's quite a bit of differences. I don't think cats would enjoy group play in a large environment quite the same way the dogs will. And it definitely is a different type of environment of what you're looking for. Cleanliness is going to be huge, making sure that the facility is properly set up to handle the cats, as well as, finding out how often the litter box has changed, making sure what their feeding schedule is, if they get one-on-one individual attention with a staff member, and also what their accommodations look like. Yeah. You know, if it's one tiny little metal cage, or if they have opportunities to look out a window, and some of them have, TVs that have aquariums and all sorts of fun interactive things that the animal can do during their stay.
Yeah, that's really neat to hear about kind of some of the different options there. And talking about the doggy daycare aspect of it, we've talked a lot about the overnight stay and the importance of preparing for that, but the daycare part of it is something that maybe a lot of people haven't considered. What are some of the benefits of the daycare side?
There's lots of benefits of daycare. First and foremost is just socialization. Dogs by nature are social beasts. They are meant to be in a pack environment. So teaching them how to properly interact and play with other dogs can really help lead to a well-balanced dog.
Okay.
I mean, we've all been out walking on the road and we see a dog who goes absolutely bonkers when they see another dog.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of it, that dog's not learned the proper way to socialize and interact when they see another dog. And by coming to daycare, we kind of help to teach that. The other big thing is that it really helps to burn off a lot of that excess energy.
Yeah.
And the excess energy always tends to come out in bad ways, whether it be destroying curtains or getting into trash or, eating a brand new pair of heels. A puppy that's got a lot of energy that's not being burnt off is a recipe for disaster.
So who should consider something like doggy daycare? Is that something that could work for everyone, or is it at least something you should investigate with your dog?
I think it's something that most people should investigate. It may not be a fit for every single dog. Not every dog likes social interaction, but I think every dog can learn to be socially stable with other dogs. And for some dogs, that's our entire goal of just having them learn to not be terrified when they see other dogs.
Yeah.
Certainly, socialization isn't a one-time checkbox. And a lot of people need to understand that socialization is a continual process throughout the dog's life. That having them in environments where they're interactive not only with other dogs, but people help to keep the dog socialized and interactive.
Yeah. You talked a little bit to me about, how many dogs you will have staying at a certain time. And in my mind, it almost gets chaotic of all these dogs running around. What kind of activities are happening during a day for these dogs?
Sure. At Puppy Playground, we really stress the dog-dog interaction. We've got the staff there to play with the dogs and also just to make sure that the play stays at an appropriate level. I think one of the things that surprises a lot of guests when they come into our facility is, even though we have a large volume of dogs that will be in our warehouse right behind that are all running around and playing, we can have a normal conversation.
Yeah. And
a lot of that is just the expectation that we have of the dogs of, hey, you're going to play, but you have to have manners. We need to make sure that we're doing it at an appropriate level. But one of the big things that the dogs love right now are swimming pools.
Okay.
With it being so warm outside, and our facilities are both indoor, outdoor, so the dogs have opportunities to go outside whenever they want to. 6 retrievers in a baby pool is just a recipe for laughter and goofiness. And, they are going to have a heck of a time. Everyone's going to end up sopping wet, but loving every minute of it.
Yeah, that's really fun. It's neat that there are these possibilities out there.
Oh, yeah. It's awesome.
Let's talk about grooming for just a little bit, because I know that's something that you offer as well. What kind of grooming tasks are the most important? Do you see certain things getting overlooked very often?
Certainly. I think preventative maintenance. Think of grooming as preventative maintenance. One of the biggest things that I would love to see clients do more of, or have us do more of, are nail trims. When a dog's nails get too long, it actually can impede how the bone grows, and so it can be really, really uncomfortable for the dog to walk.
Yeah.
Especially because the paws aren't actually hitting the ground, that the nails are hitting the ground. So proper nail trimming, and a lot of people are terrified to do it themselves because they don't want to hurt the dog. That's totally fine. We only charge $10, and you can even just come in for a nail trim. Other than that, just brushing the animal. A lot of people have a misconception that shaving their dog during the summer keeps them cool, but actually the undercoat in their long coat helps to keep them cool much more effectively.
Oh, interesting.
But you need to have a coat that's not matted. And so going through and really brushing out, the longer hair dogs like the golden retrievers or the border collies, as long as you can run a brush through them and keep all of that dead hair away, they'll actually stay cooler on their own. Yeah,
that's a really interesting fact. You talk about the nail trimming aspect of it. That's something I think can be a little stressful for a lot of dog owners. Do you have any quick DIY tips that you can give on how to kind of make that process a little easier?
Play with your dog's feet. From the time that they're puppies, just get them accustomed to being handled. They give me their paw, I give them a cookie. And so that way it becomes less stressful on the dog to have their paws being handled. Yeah. And even just rubbing the paw and playing with them, that will give you more opportunity to be able to do a quality nail trim versus the jerk and pull WrestleMania.
Sure.
Have to jump on top of them trying to do one toe at a time. If it's too stressful for you and it's too stressful for the dog, just stop.
Yeah.
Let the professional handle it. It's better to let people who know what they're doing be able to do it quickly and easily versus making a traumatic experience that the dog will never like.
Absolutely. That's very good advice. It's time for us to take another quick break, but fear not, it won't be rough. When we return, we'll share some helpful tips in our What's Trending segment, and we'll take some listener questions and get you some answers from Deb of Puppy Playground. We're very happy to have you with us today. Stay right here. It's Chat with the Experts.
Do you love a good bargain? Angie'sList.com showcases popular deals from highly rated local companies so you can save time and money on the home and health services you need most. Remodeling your kitchen? Painting your house? Cleaning your carpet? We've got a deal for that. Angie's List members even have access to exclusive discounts, up to 80%. Don't waste another day or another dollar. Start shopping now at Angie'sList.com.